Hello and welcome. Today I thought we would talk about removing the manufacturer's protective coating to prevent rust. The first reason why you really want to remove that coating is, all you have to do is take a look at the saw plate here. You see all these streak marks and everything here. Now, the problem with that is that the reason it's causing these streak marks is that the finish that they put on there to prevent the rust while it's in storage before it's used, it creates friction. And so it's gaining extra friction on the saw plate and partially rubbing and removing and grabbing some of the sawdust and some of the wood and embedding it into the surface of the saw. And I have had one previously where I didn't remove it and it actually embedded wood there and it got moisture on there and I actually got rusting on the saw plate. So I think it's quite vital that you learn how to remove it. Now, I have heard that some people struggle with removing the coating, or maybe they're not aware of how to. Now, with these Spear & Jacksons, it's quite easy, and I'm going to walk you through it right now. So when it comes to the Spear & Jackson saws, they're coated with some sort of alcohol-based clear coat. My thinking is that it's most likely a shellac of some sort, because these are not too difficult to actually remove it. Now, when removing them on saws that actually can take the handle off, you're best to remove the handle so you don't get any of the dirt or any of the alcohol on the handle, because it's not the best for it. But in this case, these Spear & Jackson ones are riveted on, so don't worry about that. So what you're going to need here to clean this surface off, particularly on these saws, and most of them that I have come across, is denatured alcohol or methylated spirits. Now, the main reason I use denatured alcohol is this is industrial denatured alcohol that has zero water in it, and I use it for my shellac, so that's what I buy and that's what I'm using here, but just know methylated spirits will work just as well. On some of the more stubborn saw plates, and I haven't had a problem with the two tenon saws that I've cleaned off thus far from Spear & Jackson, just some paper towel work, but if you've got stubborn ones, 4/0 steel wool, like this Sifter brand here, will just provide a micro abrasion to actually help remove it, and on some saws in the past I have definitely required that. The other option is some of the Scotch-Brite 3M 4/0 Ultra Fine. That's almost equivalent to the 4/0 steel wool, it's about the same. Normally I'd just hang it off the edge of my bench, but because I'm doing it here, you just want to support the saw plate so when you're flexing it, you're not pushing down and you're lifting that handle up so you're not flexing the plate. You want to keep it as flat as possible, which is best. So I'm just going to get some paper towel here, some denatured alcohol, and just going to get a decent amount on the cloth, and I'm just going to start rubbing around on the surface here. Now, you will notice that the Spear & Jackson logo on here is just printed on the surface, and if you actually feel across it, you can feel it. And so taking this coating off is going to take that off the saw. It's not an etching. If you did this on a saw with an etching, that wouldn't come off, but this is just printed on here, and then I think the rust protection's put over the top of it. And so you got a pretty good indication that you're removing your coating when that comes off. And so you just want to keep rubbing the surface right over. Now, I'm going to flip over and do the other side while I'm at it. Now, when doing this, especially with a crosscut saw, do be very careful, because in a crosscut saw you've got a series of knives on the end there, and I just slipped and actually cut my finger, so just be aware, be vigilant, and don't take it for granted. Just concentrate on what you're doing. So what we want to do is just keep rubbing this denatured alcohol over the top until we've got it all removed. So now that I've done this second side, I'm going to flip back to this side, and you can see that it's sort of all cloudy here again, and that means the finish is not completely removed, and we've just got to keep working it. Now, when you're doing this, you want to keep switching over to a clean bit of rag so it will actually collect the finish and not just smudge it on the surface. Here it's still leaving this sort of smudged look, so what I'm going to do is just use the Scotch-Brite, because I'm preferring that over the steel wool these days. It leaves less mess. And we're just going to use this in little circles across the surface. Then another piece of paper towel, just come in behind it and just wipe the excess off, hopefully taking the finish with it. Now it's important after you've taken that off that you get something like paste wax, so I'm going to quickly do that. We're going to apply some paste wax to the surface just so we've got a protectant on there after we've removed what was already preventing the rust. So I've just got some of my homemade paste wax here. Just a little bit. You don't need to apply a lot to this. Now, on these saw plates, it is vital to kind of let that dry before you buff it off. And I hope you can see that on the surface here now. And so we want to apply it to the other side as well. I can actually see just here that I've left a little bit of the finish there, but it's up by the handle, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll get it next time I clean the saw. So, now that that's been on here and dried, buff it off. You don't have to use paper towel to buff it off. Any cloth will do. Now we can see we've got that finish off here. I have picked up a little bit of paper towel, but when you come to run it through a piece of wood, that'll actually all come off. So I do recommend you just whack it through a piece of wood after that, and that just takes all the paper towel. Or if you've used fabric cloth, you probably don't have that, so that's up to you. But there we can see we've removed most of the finish off the surface, and now it's not going to get stuck up, and it's much smoother to the touch. There you have it, folks. I hope that answers the question of how to remove the original sort of rust preventative clear coat that is put on these saws. Now, it's not just these Spear & Jacksons, and on most saws it is going to be some sort of a shellac clear coat. And as you can see, if you don't get it all, don't worry about it. Get most of it off. The next time you give your saw a wipe down, or before you're about to apply paste wax to it next time, just concentrate and get that last little bit off if you did miss some like I did here. It's not a big deal, and those little tiny bits are not really going to affect the performance of your saw, but for the most part you've now got a nice waxed saw plate that's going to run through your timber much faster, nicer and easier than when you get it from the store with that protective coating on it. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe down below. While you're down there, sound off in the comments. Have you had this sort of issue with removing the clear coat off your saws? Did this help you out? I'm interested to know. And if you'd like to see another great video such as this, do check out the one up here where I show you how to reshape the sawtooth from a crosscut to a rip cut. Bye for now.